The following story and photos are from Giant Panda King's book, Gotham 1919 to 1939, by Russell S. Beatty. Viewer discretion is advised.
Like all things, the era of the Batman and other costume vigilantes and criminals came to an end. Some debate still whether or not he was a force for good or ill in Gotham. He had inspired heroism and hope within many, but also anger and resentment in others. As the threat of World War II loomed, the idea of grown men and women in costumes vying for the fate of Gotham seemed trivial in comparison. Bruce in particular would put aside the thought of returning as Batman for decades, instead vying to use his wealth and resources to aid the Allies in the war. They would need it against the horrors that World War II would bring. This conflict would hasten the arrival of oncoming change and a horrific global awakening. Gotham would not be exempt from its influence, nor would most of the world. Although the career of the Batman had only lasted for 20 years, the impact it had was phenomenal. His Crusade's legacy would shape certain aspects of society for years to come. Many films, books, and even Broadway shows would all take inspiration from the Batman's battle for justice. One such production was Batman Beyond, directed by John Carlinger. This thrilling serial of 12 chapters captivated audiences when it was released in theaters. Another production was The Bat Follies of 1939, a burlesque-style stage show that celebrated the more colorful aspects of Gotham's costumed and caped vigilantes and villains. The Batman would have a veritable ripple effect on popular culture and would be idolized by some, criticized by others. Even his harshest critics couldn't deny one fact, though. The Batman had a larger-than-life cultural impact. While Bruce Wayne retired the cape and cowl, many of his allies and enemies took on roles in their own way over the following years. Alfred, near the end of the final Knightfall conflict, would be hospitalized. This was due to the injuries he had sustained in the Shadow War worsening. Alfred would eventually die in 1939, with some speculating this as the final straw driving Bruce to retire. Tim Drake would eventually enter law enforcement. He would join the recently rebranded Bureau of Investigation, now known as the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI. As an agent, he helped pioneer new profiling strategies and forensic investigation techniques. This would revolutionize law enforcement for the modern era. Before Knightfall, Luke Fox returned to Europe on special assignment. Bruce had asked him to go there after reading the signs of a rising evil there. Luke was tasked with raising a fighting force for the coming conflict. He rallied a squadron of rogue pilots into a group known throughout World War II as the Black Hawks. After the events of the Bamber Bridge incident, he would become disillusioned with fighting and retire in the south of France. The remainder of his life would be peaceful. Another event that occurred during World War II was an incursion into France by Task Force X. This covert ops team operated under direct orders from Harry S. Truman. It was commanded by the war hero Rick Flag. Also in command under Flag was Dick Grayson, alias Nightwing. The team was composed of costumed criminals that had been apprehended throughout the years. Among them was Atom Smasher, Deathstroke, Captain Boomerang, Deadshot, Slipknot, and Harley Quinn. Harley in particular, being of Jewish descent, hated the Nazi forces with a passion. Not much is known about the specifics of the mission, but what is known is that Nightwing and many others on this covert ops team died in the line of duty in France. Nightwing was honored as an American hero by Harry S. Truman posthumously. In the meantime, Oracle would use her skills in World War II as a codebreaker. Upon hearing of Nightwing's death in 1943, she would be heartbroken, but it would give her a renewed vigor in the war effort. She would go on to attend law school and would become Gotham's first female district attorney in 1948. After the Shadow War, the League of Assassins were leaderless and without purpose. Their attention eventually shifted to the rise of fascism in Europe. Upon reaching young adulthood, Damian Wayne would eventually leave Gotham and take on the role his grandfather Ra's had wanted for him, to assume leadership of the League. In the wake of World War II, he changed the group's name to the League of Shadows and took on a new name of his own. He combined his father and mother's different teachings into this persona. Word began to rise of this new group and their leader, the Heretic. Bearing an uncanny resemblance to the Batman of Gotham City, he did not just protect one city or country, he aimed to protect the world. The Heretic vowed to never let another war to end all wars happen again. In the mid-1940s, Gotham faced another crisis. After Knightfall, the city saw relative peace until a fire broke out at Arkham Asylum. With the Batman retired, the city panicked when Arkham's most dangerous inmates ran loose on the streets. For months, people lived in fear. Many other places in the U.S. would nickname Gotham Arkham City during this tumultuous event. In the midst of the terror, a mysterious new figure rose. They wore body armor inspired by the Batman and would quickly quell the chaos. As suddenly as this figure appeared, they disappeared once the threat abated. The media dubbed this figure as the Arkham Knight. To this day, no one knows the true identity of the vigilante. Some speculate that it was Bruce Wayne temporarily returning to the role of the Batman. Others speculate that it was Red Hood under a new persona. Still more think it was neither. The Joker was one of the escapees of Arkham Asylum. He was never recaptured, and there are no known sightings following his final disappearance. Many speculate that this is because of the Batman's retirement. Without someone to counteract his chaos with order, the Joker simply may not have seen the point. All that remained were his final words, scrawled in blood on his cell wall. All the world's a stage, all men and women merely players. Other costumed criminals in Gotham managed to turn their lives around. Selina Kyle, alias the Catwoman, would be one of these mostly unscathed individuals. She would go on to create and run a much-needed women's shelter in Gotham City. It received plenty of funding from the Wayne Foundation, but stood on its own legs, too. In the end, Bruce Wayne had sacrificed a great deal for Gotham and the Batman. His body had been broken countless times, his mind had endured much strain, and his drive had refocused. All of these factors forced him to give up his original crusade. During World War II, Bruce started numerous initiatives to help fund the Allies. His body may not have been up to the fight, but his mind and resources were. He is credited with using his influence and status in aiding the OSS with their intelligence effort. He is also credited, alongside Alan Dulles, with the recruitment of Fritz Kolbe and becoming a spy for the Allies. After the end of the Second World War, he would start numerous charities and organizations under the Wayne name, continuing to be a hero in any way he could. With the rise of a new, vicious gang in 1955, Gotham saw even more terror. Bruce, now much older, saw another threat that no one was standing up to. Preparing himself, he donned the cowl of the Batman one last time. He was aided by a new Robin whose identity was one Carrie Kelly. Together they worked to dismantle this gang known as the Mutants. Eventually, Bruce became a victim of the same thing everyone does: time. As his mind began to go, he lost himself. He spent his last days tormented by demons and monsters from his past. Years later, after his death, the secret of his identity and exploits would be revealed to the world. The legacy of the Batman would continue to inspire many generations. Whether the Batman really helped fight crime or was the reason it escalated to absurd levels will be forever a subject of debate. Medical and law enforcement fields are still not at a general consensus. The evidence presented in this series is not intended to pass judgment, but to represent the truth about what transpired. This has been an account of Gotham, 1919 to 1939.
All you want is my hunger. All you need is my pain. Nothing in between, never met you lost. When you were born there was thunder, fire lit in the sky as to lead astray. Now heavy rain pours out of